Hello everyone, welcome to an analysis of dance where we discuss the movements and debuts of the Billboard dance charts in immaculate detail with in-depth reviews of each debut each week. Well, for the first time in likely the last month or so, we actually had a somewhat normal week. Not exactly a good one, and the quality was not good at all this week, and there's going to be asterisks like the lack of debuts on Hot Dance for the second time this past month, or the fact that we could possibly be getting at least one or two Chris Lake songs next week that it could increase the quality of the charts considerably, and that's really exciting moving forward. But honestly, with the week we had and the fact that I'm not really feeling all that great, so that's the reason why I'm wearing what I'm wearing right now. I'm just going through the worst kind of cold at the moment, and if you hear some of that in my voice, I apologize, but yeah, the show must go on regardless. But at least we start somewhat easy with Hot Dance, where yeah, Smiles on It by Marshmello and Kane Brown is still #1, which especially on this week is indicating that it would still be in the top 100 without recurring rules. That's not good at all. But we actually have a new challenger, jumping up to #2 and changing the top 2 for the first time in ages. We had No Broke Boys by Disco Lines and Tinashe at #2, and this one is important because it hit the Hot 199 this week, and while it's probably going to get knocked off next week by the massive triple album bomb impact from Clips, Justin Bieber and Jack Boys, yeah, the fact it hit Hot 100 at all is a miracle. Really good for Disco Lines there, and given the momentum it's got on streaming and sales, it's got momentum, it's going to go up, and my challenge for #1 moving forward. But that means that the day's Notion remix by Crystal is down to #3, and this one doesn't surprise me as it got overtaken on streaming, and given that it has absolutely no radio or sales support at this point, it's finally going to be on its way out after a remarkably good run. I'm really happy with how well this did, even if it didn't hit #1. But what's more interesting is Blessings by Calvin Harris featuring Clementine Douglas in #4. Now this one is slowly picking up radio. It's been added to a few more stations than I think anyone expected, but it's just getting way too slow there to actually matter at the moment. But given that it's got upwards momentum and it actually returned to the US streaming charts for all genres on Spotify, that's at least a promising sign that this could actually go up moving forward, and yeah, another huge win for me. I'm still glad to see this here. What's also looking promising is Victory Lap by Fred Again, Skepta and Pluck Boy Max holding steady in #5, and this one didn't really see the streaming boost from the remixes just yet, but given the insane amount of stability it's got there and the fact that it's doing well on sales, this manages to stick around consistently and really surprise me. I'm thrilled with how well this is doing, especially considering it's not falling off that hard worldwide. It's actually doing really well, and especially thanks to this, Paso Bem Solto by Alice is being held down at #6, which given that the streaming is stalling out and it's actually falling pretty considerably worldwide as the momentum dries up, yeah, we might be finally done with this pile of crap. I would not complain at all, it's not good in the slightest. But what's more worrying comes in Neverender by Justice and Tame Impala at #7, which yes, it's still up pretty high even with the radio support completely falling apart for it, but given the high amount of debuts I can see next week that possibly could challenge it and beat it, as well as the songs beneath it, this might actually be in danger of falling off the charts entirely. The radio losses are not exactly promising for its momentum moving forward, although it did have a fantastic run. I'm not exactly upset about that. But what's more unfortunate is that the songs beneath it are going to rise up, starting with the unwelcome gain for Dia Delicia by Nakema and MC Staff to #8, which again, it's the freshest Brazilian funk hit that's going big worldwide, and given the streaming is going up as one of the only songs in the top 10 that's doing that right now, yeah, this isn't slowing down anytime soon. That's a serious problem. Then there's Luna Bala by YB Wasgood and Aris at #9. Again, this one is more fresh compared to the other Brazilian funk hits we've got in the top 10 right now, so it's still holding pretty steady, even if it is stalling out again worldwide. Proof that the scene might be on its way out at the rate it's going. And finally, Montegem Tormada by Mozzie is at #10. It's the oldest of these 3 Brazilian funk songs I just talked about, and given that it's already stalled out worldwide months ago, it doesn't surprise me that it's on its way out here. Let's kick it out of the top 10, it's not remotely good. But what's not likely to get into the top 10 to replace it comes in our dropouts, where the big one is Dreaming by Dom Dollar featuring Daya, which even on a week with no debuts managed to exit after actually lasting past 20 weeks, which is really impressive. Shame that Dom Dollar's material otherwise has really underperformed, and in the case of No Room for a Saint by Dom Dollar featuring Nathan Nicholson down to 21, it's just not showing any signs of staying power. Good. But man, if you're talking about our falls this week, there are some really worrying signs moving forward for the year-end list and certain songs getting on it. And in the case of Save My Love by Marshmello, Ellie Goulding and Avion, already down to 22. That is a really worrying sign, especially considering it's been utterly flopping since it debuted, and it's proof that Marshmello's material after Miles on It has just had absolutely no staying power. I'm kind of conflicted on that in this case because this is a really damn good song, but it might make the year-end list considering the weak competition at the moment. I guess I'll take that. But hey, if it's going to take down Lost Voltage by Say False, YB Was Good and RS down to 24 as a song with absolutely no staying power, that's a huge win for me, as well as the big losses for OMG by Tiesto and Sexy Red to 16, which alongside No Room for a Saint are proof that this soundtrack is having absolutely no staying power, and considering that the songs are mediocre at best, I'm not about to complain there. But what I can complain about comes in our comebacks being the only replacements this week, with a lot of them just being inconsistent at best. I mean, I'm at least happy that Light Years by John Summer featuring Inez rebounded to 15 thanks to big remix boosts, even if I don't expect it will last next week. But it also came with The Less I Know The Better by Mal P at 23. Why the hell is this still having staying power? It's complete crap and lazy to boot. Why are people still streaming this? Oh, and also Dior by MK featuring Crystal at 25, which is a good song, but I can complain about the fact that it's having absolutely no staying power, which considering it's a top 10 hit in the UK, that makes zero sense. Can we at least give this a run, please? And on the topic of things that baffle me, why the hell is Beautiful People by David Guetta and Sia rebounding to 17? Is it because of residual momentum thanks to the new singles that thankfully didn't chart here? Is it seriously because of that this is actually jumping up? Really? I mean, the song's not as bad as that new song with Bonnie Tyler that I don't want to acknowledge exists, but seriously, this should be gone. It's not really relying on remixes anymore at this point. But yeah, in terms of Hot Dance, that's it. Let's move on. Thankfully though, Dance Pop had actual stuff happen this week, and I think what's more important is that some songs are actually going to fall victim to recurrent rules next week, which means we could have some genuinely interesting things coming up. That's a huge win for me. But for the time being, we had Huntrix take over the entire top 2 this week with How It's Done at number 1 and Takedown at number 2, proof that this soundtrack is absolutely having huge momentum. Although given the new Blackpink song that could debut next week, we might actually see the top 3 be dominated by Korean acts, which is a huge win and shows some genuine progress for this chart. Although it baffles me in Takedown's case why the Twice version that charted on Hot 100 this week was not allowed to be counted, and yet the original was, despite the fact that they're basically the same song with different vocalists. But beyond that, Illegal by Pink Pantheress is up to number 5, where against all odds, this hit the Hot 100 quite comfortably and will end up breaking Pink Pantheress's one-hit wonder streak in the United States. Absolutely huge win, no complaints there, and the song has grown on me a lot, so this is a big win for me. But then there's the replacement for Too Much by Dove Cameron, unfortunately being number 13, Red Flag by Kesha. I think this speaks volumes about just how much Period has just utterly underperformed and fumbled any sort of momentum it actually got. I mean, you push Joyride as the big comeback single and it does surprisingly well, but ever since that track, you decide to release some of the most phoned-in garbage of your entire career, with remixes that came out even before the album impacted, and most of those remixes were on the deluxe edition. And after you push attention from the deluxe edition of the album itself actually comes out, and the only debut that comes from it is at 13 on Dance Pop, and with nothing else coming back or even showing any signs of upwards momentum. If that's not a sign that this album severely underperformed against all odds, I really don't know what is. And in this case, yeah, I'm not about to complain either, because this is really bad. The utterly cheap and flat guitar that transitions into the goddamn Blue Monday sample for the percussion, which when sped up has absolutely no power or presence to it at all. You could be listening to the original track instead. Buzzy PC music-esque synths that cannot create a solid atmosphere to save their life. Kesha sounding utterly out of her depth with the sort of auto-tune that we thought would actually be thrown out from her older albums. Seriously, there's no reason why she needs it on a track like this. And to top it all off, the sort of predictable I'm at my best when I'm at my worst in dating Red Flags lyrics that cultivate in the line, I like my men like I like my horses. I like them wild, out of control, yes. Kesha, you know that wild horses have the capacity to kick in and kill people, right? This sort of lyric just does not work for a song like this, unless you have some sort of fetish towards that thing, in which case, dear God, why did you need to put that on record? And when you combine that with the stupid as hell lines across the rest of the track and the forced rhyming that does not sound remotely good, yeah, this is just one of the many reasons why I'm not remotely surprised this album underperformed. If this is the sort of content that you're producing at this point in your career, especially this far away from any sort of legal drama, and the fact is that she's independent and has full creative control, so all this was done intentionally, yeah, this is not good at all, and kind of proof why I have had zero interest to listen to Period as an album. This sucks and I expect it to be gone next week. So much for any hype, I guess. And on that note, yep, we get to the dance streaming and sales charts, where the debuts here are just utterly underwhelming to outright bad, so let's just talk about the stuff around them and get through this as quick as we can. On dance streaming, it's minor news this week, with Huntrix taking up the top 2 here yet again, with How It's Done number 1 and Takedown at number 2, although I expect these again to be damaged a little bit by Blackpink next week, with No Broke Boys by Disco Lines and Tinashe up to number 6, where it's gaining huge momentum yet again, where I expect this will have a chance of returning in the next couple of weeks to the Hot 100. We could only hope there. And that's important to note because on dance sales, the exact same top 2 were here again, with How It's Done and Takedown at number 1 and number 2 respectively, with No Broke Boys actually sitting next to them at number 3. This song is doing well across the board, and hopefully radio gets on board with it. It's got every reason to at this point. But since this week was so quiet that we got precisely 0 comebacks this week, which is the first time that's happened in dance sales in a long time considering the fast rotation that chart has, yeah, let's unfortunately just get to those debuts, starting off with number 15, At Night, Anyma and Layton Giordani remix by Shakedown.
Just don't feel right. I think I feel much better at night.
Okay, look, both of these debuts are mediocre to outright bad tech house fluff, the sort of thing that you'd expect to chart on dance house for a couple of weeks and yeah, have absolutely no staying power in my mind, so I'd rather just get through these as quick as I can, especially with my current state right now. I need to save my voice for things that actually matter. In this case, it's a remix of a Shakedown song from 2001, an original track that I actually found really enjoyable thanks to the faster indie pop leading synth pop groove that I actually genuinely liked, and those really iconic synth melodies and a goddamn catchy hook. There's a reason that's stuck around in the mainstream, and I totally get why people are remixing it even to this day, which takes us to Purple Disco Machine, who remixed this song back in 2019, and it actually ended up doing better than the original track, and of course, as expected, it turns it into a disco track. Honestly works as well for me as I expected, even if it's not as good as the original. So just our luck that I have to talk about the Anyma and Layton Giordani remix of this song that came out just recently, which of course turns it into bland disposable tech house with absolutely nothing to offer. The mixing has no presence or low-end groove. The melodies from the original track are turned into these flat-sounding synths that just sound completely wasted, and the hook that is thankfully still here just does not work over tech house production. You need a groove with some more organic mixing than this has, and with this, yeah, it just does not work. Which, considering that I've liked both Anyma and Layton Giordani songs in the past, that's really inexcusable and proof that this was a very phoned-in remix. It's not better than the Purple Disco Machine, it's certainly not better than the original. Yeah, this is completely pointless. I have absolutely no reason to go back to it, and when it's a complete mess of a remix, yeah, this sucks. Skip it. Number 11, London's on Fire by Chris Lorenzo, Max Styler, and Audio Bullies.
To the dance, to the rave, to the dance, to the rave, to the dance. Get up now, can't wait your turn.
London's on fire while Paris burns.
Although compared to this goddamn mess of a song, I would at least take the At Night remix in spades because wow, this is really bad. Which, considering that I used to actually like some songs from Max Styler and Chris Lorenzo, that's just goddamn inexcusable. The groove might be a bit more low and heavy and have some actual presence, but the complete lack of melodies just really hurt this one for me, with the only form of melody coming through in the uncredited British singer being a sort of hype man for this entire track, where he mentions a bunch of things to do with clubs and the crowd getting energetic, and my god, he just gets so goddamn annoying. When he takes over the majority of the track, it just becomes tiring and formulaic as all hell. Kind of the same issue I have with San Francisco by Dom Dollar, where the vocal samples are unnecessarily padded out and repeated way too much across the track. But unlike San Francisco, this has no great groove or energy to speak of. This is just lazy phoned in and proves to me why Chris Lorenzo has been relegated to this chart and nowhere else. His material is just getting worse and worse, and when a song like this drags down both Max Styler and Audio Bullies, yeah, this is goddamn inexcusable. This blows. Skip it. But getting out of that absolute mess, we go to Dance Mix Show Airplay, and my god, the debuts are barely any much better here too. There's some absolute crap in here. Thank god that at least Calvin Harris came through to effectively save the week with a great number one in Blessings featuring Clementine Douglas, which, considering the huge amount of spins that this has, I expect this to have a second week at number one next week, and that's a huge win. Thank god for small blessings, no pun intended there. And on that note, Edge of the World by Medusa, Inalia and Genesee featuring Nula jumped up big to number 2. And while the spins are falling on this one where I expect this will miss number 1, I'm at least happy it had a damn good run. I'm not going to complain about it being here. And as expected, Surrender by Alesso and Becky Hill is at number 3, where this didn't really have much momentum in terms of staying in number 1. It was a weak number 1 even when it hit it last week, and given that it's losing spins pretty fast, it's on its way out quite naturally after a really good run. Then there's In My Arms by Elenium and Halo at number 4. This one doesn't surprise me at all that it's getting up pretty slowly. It's got enough momentum where I expect it will go up to number 1 eventually, and that's a huge win for Halo especially. But there also might be the challenger of Won't Be Possible by Tiesto, Odd Mob and Good Boys down to number 5, which only lost out because In My Arms beat it slightly on spins as of recording this, but since then it's overtaken it. It's going to likely hit number 1 first. No complaints there, it's grown on me a fair bit. Hell, it's having a similar run to Never Forget You by Afrojack down to number 6, a song that already hit number 1 against all odds and is doing much better than I think anyone expected. Hell, with that new single with Martin Garrix and David Guetta that will likely impact this chart and the main hot dance charts as early as next week, we could see more upwards momentum and traffic for this guy. Not gonna complain, the songs have been mostly good so far. Hell, I'd certainly take that new single over Mad by Martin Garrix and Low at number 7. I at least hope that the new single's momentum on this format will cannibalize this song's success, especially considering that Our Time is actually doing better on streaming on average first week. But again, we can only hope for small things at this point. I have no expectations that this is actually going to lose momentum just at the moment. But then we end the top 10 with 3 new arrivals here. Thankfully, 2 of them are really damn good, with the first being Something New by GT Office, Matthew Topper and PT at number 8. And unlike the last couple of times that GT Office has charted, I have no complaints about this overperforming all expectations. I mean, the quality is good and it's one of his better songs that's charted here. I hope to see more stuff like this from him moving forward. But unfortunately, on the opposite end, we had Forever by Dom Dollar and Kid Cudi at number 9. Really? I mean, I get that after Dreaming got rotated out, they needed a new Dom Dollar song to play, but seriously, No Room for a Saint might not be good, but I'll at least take it over this phoned-in crap. There's no reason that this should be as big as it is. But thankfully, we end with the best of the 3 new arrivals this week, A Better World by David Guetta and Cedric Gervais at number 10. And in this case, it's gotten upwards momentum across the board, and while I am a little worried that Our Time will take away some of the spins from this considering it's a much bigger track, I'm at least thrilled to see one of David Guetta's best songs in recent memory actually manage to make it to the top 10. I can only hope it gets higher moving forward, and my god, it's so cool to see this here. But man, if you thought last week was quiet in terms of our fall-offs, this week came through to effectively fix everything up. And even better, most of the fall-offs are mediocre to outright bad, with the only exception being Abracadabra by Lady Gaga, which hit 20 weeks on the charts anyways and will comfortably make the year-end list anyways, so I'm not about to complain. And man, if it's going to take out I Follow Rivers by Tiesto featuring Oaks, In My Head by Griffin Cascade and Nula, and especially Sports Car by Tate McRae, that's a huge win for me. All of those songs are not remotely good, and I'm not about to complain about them leaving, even if they will unfortunately all make the year-end list. Yay. Shame that the falls are considerably better in quality, with only 2 major exceptions being Dreaming by Dom Dollar featuring Daya at 39, and even then that song's not that bad. And the final countdown 2025 by David Guetta, Hyperton, and Europe absolutely flopping down to 33. And given that it's collapsing on spins, I expect this to be gone likely by next week. And given that A Better World is absolutely smoking it in terms of performance, yeah, this is a huge win. And considering it's one of the worst songs that's charted here in recent memory, I'm at least thrilled that it's going to miss the year-end list. We have all won here. But besides that, yeah, sadly mostly good songs that are on their way out, such as All I Know by Rudimental and Khalid at 15, Don't Wake Me Up by James Hype at 17, Come With Me by Major League DJs and Georgia Smith at 19, Angels for Each Other by Martin Garrix and Arijit Singh at 24, and Wrap Yourself Around Me by DAAoD featuring North just plummeting down to 34 as it will likely be gone next week. It had a fantastic run, I can't complain there. The only two outliers that really hurt for me here are One More Thing by Audien and Artie featuring Sarah Davis at 27, which against all odds actually flopped for an Audien and Artie collab. Maybe it was a bit too safe for that format. And most disappointingly, Run It Back by Gorgon City featuring Carolyn Byrne at 29. It's still on the charts, I'll at least not going to complain too much about that, but in the grand tradition of Gorgon City singles underperforming, this is likely going to miss the year-end list. Just our goddamn luck there. But man, the jumps were just bizarre across the board here. I mean, outside of Forever and A Better World in the top 10, we had some songs just outside of it, like Dior by MK featuring Crystal at 11, No Broke Boys by Disco Lines and Tinashe continuing to just surge up to number 12. Then there's the other Forever by Zulan at 18, Twilight Zone by Ariana Grande at 25, and Risk It All by CMCS and Terra Jr. at 26. Seriously, why the hell is this one still around? Although thankfully ending off much better with State of Mind by Cascade and Lipless up to 30 off the debut. I can only hope that that last one gets some momentum and really becomes a big hit. We could use one of the best songs charting right now as a genuine hit. Just gonna say that now. And hell, we also have a debut this week that I'm genuinely excited to see how it goes moving forward, with this one being one that I can skip over thanks to me covering it in previous weeks. Unfortunately though, it's easily the best of the debuts here, with Wait So Long by Swedish House Mafia debuting at 23. Which, considering how high it debuted and the fact that the post-Paradise Again singles have actually been doing really well, I expect this to have a pretty damn good run. Not gonna complain there, it's a great song. But man, the rest of these debuts... Okay, let's just get into them. Unfortunately, starting with number 40, Bullets by Diplo, VAVO, and Priscilla Block.
You made me that way. You're gonna tell them that I broke your damn heart, but never tell them what you did, baby, in the dark.
Again, considering the quality of the debuts here, I am going to keep these short for my own mental sanity, where in this case, what the hell am I meant to say about Diplo collaborating with one of the most forgettable one-hit wonders on the Hot 100 from country music? And seriously, can we stop with these country EDM fusions at this point? I think we all are very much tired of them. Although I at least had some expectations here, considering that VAVO on here, and I like their material from 2022, and yep, shock horror to nobody, this is expectedly really mediocre at best. For one, Priscilla Block just sounds completely out of her depth on this EDM production, with her forcing the twang to try and make this sound like a much cleaner fusion, but instead with this sort of vocal delivery with the compressed as hell mix, she just sounds completely out of place here. You could have put on literally any other female vocalist from country music, and really I'm not exactly going to give her any sort of props there as well, which, considering that she actually had some decent vocals on Just About Over You and they were one of the few elements of that song I can actually remember, yeah, that's really bad. And speaking of mediocre, man, this production is not remotely good at all. The severe lack of melody against the piss poor piano line that really has absolutely no presence, against a groove that once again has absolutely no low end to speak of. You can't remotely dance to this, and I don't get why Dance Airplay are playing these sort of songs. Yeah, I totally get why this has taken a weaker chart to actually chart here, and while I expect it will gain a little bit of momentum, considering that Diplo's run of singles has not exactly been all that good recently, I'm not expecting this will stick around at all. Thank God too, because yeah, this sucks. Skip it. Number 38, Love Me Not by Ravyn Lenae.
Wish you were right here. Oh, it's hard to leave you when I get you everywhere. All this time I'm thinking we could never be a pair. Oh no, I don't need you, but I miss you. Come here.
Okay, say, look, this is actually cool to see here and all. Ravyn Lenae has been well deserving of a hit for a while now, especially considering her upwards momentum has been showing signs that she will actually get there. And with this hitting the top 10 likely by next week, it really is showing signs that she's going to have some staying power if she actually knows what to do with this. And man, it's good to have some better representation of her on this channel besides just Is It Real? Problem is, I don't really love this in the same way that everyone else does. Maybe it's my general feelings towards this sort of indie rock mixed with R&B, where I wish that this actually went more places than it did. Even if the production overall is quite nice with that crispy guitar against the bass and Ravyn Lenae's really unique vocal delivery that makes her at least stand out from a lot of other R&B singers in this lane. But for me, I just wish that this did a lot more. It does feel like it's lacking any sort of real progression or payoff to really justify being as long as it is. And considering that I'm not the biggest R&B fan as is, I wish that this did a little bit more for me. Although it is cool that between this and Undressed by Somber, this scene is getting a little bit more representation. I'll give it that at least. I mean, it is mostly good. I can see the appeal of this, and I do like this song. I don't think it's bad by any means, but I just don't really have the same sort of connection to this that everyone else seems to have at the moment. It's just not clicking in the way that I would have hoped. Still mostly good, but again, I've heard better from her. This is not as great as I hoped. Number 36, Cherry by Jules Liesl.
I'ma teach you how to please and now make a kitty go meow. Give me, I need to make it whip with it, whipped cream. I'ma teach you how to please and now. Call it Mary, eat that cherry.
I swear to God, we get at least one song like this every single month or so, and my God, it's just getting goddamn tiring when the quality has mostly not been there at all. And in this case, it's the trend of an artist releasing a song months ago with barely any sort of momentum on streaming at all, which in this case, this song was released 3 months ago and hasn't even hit 400,000 streams on Spotify just yet. But against all odds, the industry decides to push them onto dance radio. And in this case, actually, I didn't mind this. This was perfectly fine. Maybe even good. Yes, it's probably dragged down by Jules Liesl having the sort of voice that really toes the line between being extremely smug, annoying, and actually with some genuine personality. I can see why people would be sick of this song in record time. And as someone who is not exactly sexually driven, these lyrics just left me feeling cold more than anything. I don't know what you really want me to do with a song like this. But that being said, this is a really damn good beat. It's got a lot of crunch. There's some genuine low-end presence. It's got more of a mid-tempo sound that I think works well for this sort of seductive hookup track, and especially with Jules Liesl's flow over this track, it's got a lot of presence and personality than I expected, and especially when you have that darker beat that builds into the really goddamn catchy hook. Honestly, I totally get why this has a little bit of momentum on Dance Airplay, and it's also charted on UK club charts. This may have more underground swell than I think anyone expected. I mean, I can see this being a little bit more annoying with repeat listens, but for now, yeah, this is perfectly fine. Maybe even good. I'll definitely take it, especially when you have to compare it to. And finally, number 21, Are You Down by Loud Luxury. I don't care. It's Loud Luxury doing the same boring generic garbage they've been doing for the past few years. The vocals are monotonous and mixed horribly, the production sounds goddamn cheap as all hell with piano melodies that sound MIDI created. You cannot convince me those are real. And the drops are so dirty and lacking in low end groove that you can't even goddamn dance to this. It's less insufferably smug and annoying than Crash is, courtesy of at least having more tolerable vocals. But seriously, at this point, why the fuck do Dance Airplay stations still platform Loud Luxury? This music is safe, bland, and awfully produced, and when you have other artists doing this style a lot better that deserve a lot more of a push from Dance Airplay, this sort of shit is completely baffling to me. And yeah, when this song is this trash, this is fucking inexcusable. Skip this garbage. And yeah, easily the worst of this really bad week. Although Dishonourable runner-up was a lot harder, and I'm probably going to lean closer to London's on Fire by Chris Lorenzo, Max Styler, and Audio Bullies for just being an awfully useless pile of music that I really hope goes away in record time. For best and honourable runner-up, well, I was honestly going to give the best to Love Me Not by Ravyn Lenae, but that song is just not clicking the way I would have hoped. So it's getting honourable runner-up, while Cherry by Jules Liesl is getting best of the week here. My god, I am just so baffled that this is even a thing at this point. Next week, well, hopefully it's looking a lot better as we've got new singles from the Chainsmokers, Afrojack, and a Chris Lake album bomb that could possibly impact, and surprisingly, all these names deliver genuine quality. I'm at least looking forward to covering them if they actually chart. But yeah, that's all for this episode of an analysis of dance. See you next time.